Are you ready to create a life that's intentional and dynamic? Welcome to the Intentional Spirit with your host, Reverend Temple Hayes.
And welcome everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in and to the Intentional Spirit. We're delighted that you're here. We're grateful that you're present, and we want to thank you for your energy. It's been a pleasure to do the show. I think, Jackie, we're going on 12 years now.
Yeah,
It's
that's what
just
your
been
assistant told me.
incredible to be part of this show for so long, because for me, I mean, it's wonderful, the communication, the connection that we have with our so many authors and teachers and healers and experts, but it really has become the source of where I've found all my really good friends.
Oh, nice,
And you
nice.
are one of them, but we have been friends for many lifetimes, so here we are. But everyone, it's just my pleasure to introduce to you a award-winning author, speaker, teacher, trainer, and just a great role model. I admire her so much, Jackie Woodside.
Thank you, love. It's just so great to be here. It's just such an honor to get to hang with you again and to do this now, publicly. It's so great. I always enjoy our coffee chats and our get-togethers and our prayer times, and just so good to be in your space. I really honor what you provide in the world, the vibration that you put out into the planet.
Mm-hmm.
I think is so needed right now. You've been a spiritual leader for a long time, and so many people have been touched and changed by you. In fact, when I posted on Facebook that I was going to be on your show, and I got some messages from people, from your fans, people who followed you and listened to you, and I really appreciate the vibration of who you are and what you stand for, and that's out in the world today.
Well, thank you. And not that I'm, that I need to just send that back to you, or that I'm not going to sit in that accolade and say thank you. I mean, I was thinking the other day, I'm in the place now of all the teachers that were before me, that where they were, that someone actually quotes you, which means that you've been at whatever you're doing for a very long time. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's actually on my vision. That's on my vision for the next 5 years, Temple, is that I'm frequently quoted by experts and spiritual teachers. So I hear you. And you are one of the people that I quote for sure, but that's part of my vision, because then, your message is being heard.
Absolutely. And back at you, you're definitely, I'm a fan of yours. Well, when you talk about the early part of your life, and one of the things that people really enjoy about this show is that, often with celebrity-itis or accomplished authors or teachers or whatever, or people that are famous to the 12 people, that they serve in their family, right? There's often, we see the good, we see the accomplished person, we see the other side of it. I mean, who would have known that, let's say Tina Turner found her first set of shoes at a dumpster? Because when we would think about Tina Turner, if we can barely keep ourselves gripped to not go into dancing and not do private dancer, we think of Tina Turner and all of that. But yet there's a whole story behind her. And I think that that's so important, because it's in alignment with what I teach. It's in alignment with what you teach, that incidents that happen in your life, the unexpected, the painful, the problems, the challenge of being a human being, is not meant to knock us down. It's to draw us out.
Yeah.
And we live in a society that is constantly bombarding us with that information. Oh, you've had 2 divorces. Here's the pills, this is just, just try to get by, try not to make too much noise, be afraid to fall in love again. And poor little you, we live in a society that prefers us to be victims.
Yeah.
And in huge credit debt and all of those things, because that's the following the trail of the money. Whereas you being a trailblazer, me being a trailblazer, we stand up high and go, wait a minute, no, that's really not according to ancient times what we're doing here.
Yeah.
We want you to have a tribal energy of cleansing, and for you to take your ups and downs and your bruises and things and use them to catapult yourself and others along the path. So you are one of those trailblazers for so many people. and tell us a little bit about your story and why all this matters to you.
Wow, what a great question. And, Temple, I have to say I'm honored to be able to share that with people, because I agree with you. A lot of times people see me up on stage or leading a program or being interviewed on a podcast radio show. And, people will come up to me afterwards and like, oh, Jackie, you're just so amazing. And you make this look so easy. And sometimes people even say, you're so smart. I'm like, oh gosh, you obviously haven't followed me around very much. I may be articulate, but articulate and smart are two very different things.
Right.
Anyway, and I do like to share with people that it was not always this way. And if I can survive the things that I've survived and learn to thrive in my life, then anyone can. So let me just say a little bit more about that. I do sometimes, just in a synopsis, say that, I've survived everything there is to survive. I can't imagine too many on that high stress indicator list that I have not lived through some of them twice. So, I'll just start early. I grew up in a very rural area where everybody knows everybody, which was just delightful. But my mom was actually widowed when I was 2 years old and left with 3 kids and a high school education. Not only that, but my dad and his brother and his father all died in car accidents within 9 months of each other.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Oh my
Imagine
gosh.
that. So my grandmother, my grandma Woodside, lost her husband and 2 of her 3 sons, buried them in 9 months, all in separate car accidents.
Oh my gosh. So
my family in a small town, right, in a very rural area. So I remember when I was in my early 30s, I was doing an internship at a school for the deaf, social work internship, maybe late 20s. And and I met somebody in the break room, and another teacher or counselor at the school, and we were doing the get to know you thing. And she said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Oh, I'm from way upstate New York. I said, "I'm from upstate New York." And she said, "Oh, I'm from upstate New York." I was like, no, I'm from the North Country, because people think upstate New York is the Catskills, right? I literally grew up a mile from Canada. I was like, no, I'm from upstate New York. And she kind of knew, because that's like a thing in upstate, like, no, I'm really from upstate New York. And she's like, "Where are you from?" Well, turns out she's from the same town my dad was from.
Oh my gosh.
And, just a few miles from where I'd grown up. And she was like, "No way, and, what's your last name?" And I said, "Oh, Woodside. I'm Jackie Woodside." And her face just dropped, and she kind of took a breath, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I was so taken with that. And I said, "Oh, well, that was I knew exactly what she meant. I was like, "Oh, that was a long time ago." I'm 20, that was 25 years ago or whatever. And she said, "I was friends with your dad. I knew your dad, Jack, and I knew your
Oh
uncle."
gosh, my
Yeah.
word.
And she said, "I remember that time like it was yesterday." So anyway, that just it points a picture of the degree to which that series of incidents was kind of painting the legacy in my family of just tragedy and difficulty. So, my mom did the best she could, going through all of that, and, not the most sophisticated, educated person. So she did what she could, but both my parents kind of, drank too much, and my mom had a really violent temper. So there was all that to kind of get through. So in my young adult life, I created a lot of chaos and drama and craziness around me. I was an addict. I survived domestic violence relationships early on. I had an accident at work one day when I was in this domestic violence situation where I just fell downstairs at work. Like literally I had fallen downstairs at work. But when I went to the doctors to get the note that I couldn't work for a few days, he pulled me into his office and said, "Jackie, I've got a daughter your age. And if I saw someone doing to her what I know someone is doing to you, I would want someone to intervene."
Wow.
And it was a real wake-up call for me, that I was actually in a battering relationship. So I got myself out of that, and went on for years of psychotherapy and 12-step programs and empowerment programs. And I have to say the turning point for me really was finding unity, and the unity principles of bringing me back to the truth of who I am, that I'm not my addiction, I'm not the abuse, I'm not the violence. I'm not the drama and the chaos. I am the light of God expressing. And it is my spiritual responsibility and spiritual duty to find out what that means and then live that to the fullness of my capacity for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
And so I will say, from all of that drama and craziness, oh, and psychiatric conditions, I was diagnosed with at least a half dozen different conditions. I was medicated for a bunch of different conditions. And I will say today, I'm on no medications. I am the least stressed, most productive, happily married person that I know. So no matter all of that craziness and drama and chaos and, and even the domestic violence situations, they were with wonderful people who, had some mental health issues, and I wasn't the victim of any of it. I was, I was a crazy ass. And, so I've gone from kind of crazy and stressed to happily blessed is what I like to say.
It was a beautiful thing. And then it has crafted a path before you where you can have immense compassion, where you can sit with someone in pain. I had an experience yesterday. I was working with someone and we were doing some shamanic work, and we were doing the art of recapitulation. And that is where you actually cut away the energetic cords, not so a particular person will disappear out of your life, like get along, go, go, go. It's not that. It's so you won't disappear in your life.
Yeah.
When you're with those people that trigger points with you, a tone, a smell, a voice, and we all have them. And anyway, we were walking through it, we were having this experience, and so at the last minute she decides to bring this one more person up, and oh my gosh, she was wailing. Just it caught her so off guard, and she's just crying like a river almost. And small river, little tiny Florida river, but a river. I mean, just totally caught off guard, and I'm saying, go further in it, go further in it, go further in it. Don't talk, go further in it. And, and part of that process was so surreal for me, because on down the road in our conversation, I was able to say, I'm glad this happened with me, because see, I'm comfortable with pain. And you could continue to release and dig deeper and release, because I said so many therapists in our society today, they get into the work for the right reasons. They have not deepened the awareness of what is right within them and why they are a specialist. So it's more than, like you're saying, yes, all this happened and here I am over here. But what you remember is your value of being able to, not rush and give someone a Kleenex and interrupt their whole process, or go, our time's almost up, or shut down. And that was such a precious, tender moment for me, because of knowing, not that it needed to become about me, but that I was chosen to be part of this experience with her, of someone that we can sit here for another hour if you want. You can just cry all you want, because I'm comfortable with that. That isn't that what the Hopi elder saying is? One of those sayings is that I don't really want to know what kind of car you drive or something. And I'm paraphrasing. What I really want to know is that you're comfortable sitting with your pain. Yeah. And that's why I feel as a colleague, because this is somewhat selfish for me today, because I adore you so much. And that's why I love our monthly calls and our connection, because it's real. We don't try to coach each other and remind each other of what we already know, because we're already doing that ourselves, but we can just sit in space. Anyway, I totally get you. And there was so much of your story I could go, yeah, check,
right.
check,
Right.
check, yeah, check. And by the way, you are one of the most happily married people I know.
I am indeed. I am indeed. Yeah, I like to say that life isn't about what's happening to you. It's about what's happening inside of you.
Mhm.
And I've come to the absolute knowing that life is not happening to me. It is happening for me.
Right.
Every moment, even when it's painful, even when it's difficult. These last couple of years, as you know, Temple, I've gone through quite a journey with my teenage son.
Mhm.
And, nowhere on my vision board of parenting was there needing to call 911 or sit with my son in the emergency room or
Right.
end up in specialized treatment programs. Like nowhere was that on my vision for the kind of parenting experience I thought I was going to have with teenagers. But here we were, in this expression. And I love the Reverend Shipley Allenson, founding minister of Unity on the River. She's retired now. She always has said to me and to her congregation, this too is mine, this too is good, this too is from God, and I demand to know the blessing. And so
I
I would
love
just
that.
borrow that from Shipley. This too is good, this too is from God, and I demand to know the blessing of it. So
Mhm.
it was a long couple of years of a lot of tragedy and difficulty and pain for my spouse and I and my son, what we went through. But we were guided. We found the beautiful, perfect program for him to be in and perfect healers for him to work with and for us as a family to work with. And we're just on such an incredible healing journey. He's doing great. He's going to school, has tons of friends and getting A's and B's. And we've gotten, back to that place of living the vision. And I really believe that if I would have gone into, if you will, that victim consciousness during those ugly years, or I hate to call them ugly years, but look, it was not pretty. If I would have gone into victim consciousness during that time, I really believe that that vibration, that energy would have protracted the whole experience of, blaming him or blaming God or being angry. And, as best I could, not to say I didn't have my moments, but I would just in prayer and prayers every moment, stay in accepting this is what is, regardless of my opinion about it, regardless of how difficult it is. I'm living with what's so here and just embracing the experience. And I really believe that that helped to guide us and lead us to just such a wonderful healing process for all of us and just elevated me to the next level of consciousness.
Absolutely, because you created a template that would be according to your own vibration of visioning.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so not easy for people to understand. People in ministry, people in leadership roles, people in parenting, which is one of the most defined leadership roles you can have, is the necessity to be a lighthouse, not join the rocky boat. And that,
Right.
that is, because that's the beauty of the lighthouse. It's immovable, it's consistent, it keeps beaming into the distance of the dark. That helps eventually that rocky boat to find its way. It's not the way, it doesn't tell it the way, but it allows the movement of shining forward for the way to be found. And I applaud you for that, because you're right. I mean, that's what happens. I mean, that's what my parents did. I'm sure that's what your mom did, is there would be Rocky and they would become Rocky. So
Oh, yeah.
everybody's Rocky together. We're all drowning in this drama together,
Yeah.
versus somebody saying, I don't know what your answers are, but I got this. I'm going to hold the light for you. I'm going to be the lighthouse. And it does. It makes a tremendous amount of difference. And I know you do that for a lot of people. And I know that you also do that in helping people be friends with not only life, not only your experiences, but also to be successful and to have money. What a concept.
Yeah. I know, right? So one of the
What
things
a
I forgot to,
concept.
yeah, one of the things I forgot to add to the checklist of yes, I've survived that was being homeless. And
Mm,
again, I believe the unity teachings and my, the teachings that I've extrapolated and teach in my Money Vibe program are what led me from, homeless to 7 figures. And I say that with absolute humility, that if it weren't for the unity principles, I mean, I was literally homeless between kind of one bad relationship to another, getting out of the domestic violence situation. I didn't have any place to go. And was, couch surfing and went home for a week to stay with my parents. And just did everything I could to get through that, and just literally had no money. So I am really fortunate and blessed that I've come to the understanding that everything is energy and vibration. Your thoughts about something create the thing. Your emotions, your beliefs, your emotions, your thoughts are the creative principle. They're the substance that creates things. And we don't understand that because we're so engaged in the physical world. But we have to understand that so much of life is the non-physical, the unseen world that is energy and vibration. I love the quote from Nikola Tesla: if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so cool because he was an electrical engineer, and he didn't say, if you want to understand the secrets of electrical engineering, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. He said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe. And to me, that is the fabric of creation. The substance behind all creation starts with ideas. What are ideas but thoughts? You take that idea. I love this unity principle. You connect with the mind of God, mind. So you start with mind, and you get the divine idea. It's where everything begins, is in thought and idea. And then as you move forward with your life, designing your life to fulfill your divine ideas, you move into expression, that highest self-expression, which is not about whining and complaining that life is not going the way I want it to go. It's about catching those divine ideas and having the courage and the confidence to start designing your life to fulfill them. That's all I've done. I was a full-time therapist and in private practice for many, many years. And I had this itch, this calling to have a bigger torch, to lead the way for more people than just hour by hour. And that's what led me down this path of being an author and speaker and spiritual teacher and leading seminars and programs. I love what I do. And it's really has been a blessing financially for me as well, to go from homeless to 7 figures through the understanding of energy and vibration.
Absolutely. It's also beautiful to watch. And I'm grateful that you influence others. And we have a window before we go to break. So you were recently out of the country, and that was a tremendous experience. Tell our listening viewers about that.
I will. It was just such a blessing. I was invited to be one of the keynote speakers at a meditation and mindfulness retreat in the Seychelles Islands in the Indian Ocean off the coast of East Africa for 100 Iranian CEOs and entrepreneurs and business owners who were coming together to do a wellness retreat. And so I got to teach my consciousness work and my work around designing your life based on who you came here to be and based on your consciousness principles. And so how did I get such an extraordinary gig? It was, again, this is how I say everything is energy and vibration. A friend of mine, a colleague of mine, who himself is an international speaker, very well known and well respected, saw a post on Facebook asking for people for recommendations of who a good mindfulness and meditation teacher would be. And even though he wanted to go to the Seychelles Islands, off in this island tropical paradise, he put my name in the suggestions, in the comments on Facebook. And because the person looking from the Iranian Impactors Club knew my friend and respected him, he immediately contacted me, and I was invited to do that gig. And I say, how do I get these gigs? And I just say, it's all God. I didn't do anything to get that gig. My friend, of course I have a reputation and I've been around and I've been teaching this stuff for a long time. So yes, I've stepped up and done the work. And so I say to people, you can't just sit home and think good thoughts. You have to think good thoughts, have high vibration, and do the work. So, my friend's recommendation and my reputation, I got to go off for a week leading a beautiful, and now I just feel like I have a whole family in Iran. I have a bunch of new clients from the retreat, but also so many contacts and friends. I'm writing a book with one of the participants. I'm on an Instagram Live tomorrow with another one of them. Just extraordinary set of relationships and network that I developed. One of the trainers who and I have become really close friends and are keeping in touch. He's a British guy. So it's just, God is good all the time. That's all I can say. When you keep your vibration in that realm of transformation and transcendence, knowing that life is always unfolding for you, it is just one blessing after another.
Yeah,
And
it
I love
really
living
is.
life that way.
It truly is. That's why I changed it for myself instead of saying, I'm waiting on my dreams to come true. I changed it for myself. My dreams are waiting on me to come true. And
Oh,
that's
nice.
where you work with people and individuals, is to dig deeper, do an internal assessment, look at, what part of you is holding back or has a false idea about something, or change your energy. Your life can become a magnet if you are willing to, change your energy and step further into that. There's so many different possibilities. I want to thank all of you for tuning in and listening and being part of this program. And just grateful to be sharing our space and our time with Jackie Woodside today. You can go to her website, jackiewoodside.com. You can see her Amazon best-selling books. You can get involved in what she's doing. You can be part of her blog community. And she does summits all the time and creates leading authors and teachers. And I've been fortunate to be on there with her, and just offers a lot. So join me also at templehays.com and stay in touch that way. And we'll be right back after this short break.
Welcome back to The Intentional Spirit with Reverend Temple Hayes.
Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for being with us. We're talking to an author, expert in her field, Amazon bestseller as an author, life coach, energy shifter. I could just go on and on and on, but she'll become very humble if I do. So I'm talking today with Jackie Woodside, certainly a friend to all the new thought communities and to people globally. You can go to jackiewoodside.com and give her a shout out. And stay in touch with what she's doing, because she's another one of those, you don't want to miss what she's up to, because she's quite entertaining.
I do like to have fun. Absolutely.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. So what new book do you have out now, or how can we support you? What are you about these days that we can get behind, or that we can join you on your website and create some noise?
So a bunch of things, actually, Temple, thanks for asking. One, for people who are listening live, next Thursday, January 27th, 2022. So I know this will be, people might be listening to it after that. But for those who are listening live, I'm launching my life design course, which is my signature course that really got me off my antidepressant medication and from kind of some of those chaotic energies and lack of confidence, uncertain about, I have this calling, but I don't have the faith to pursue it.
Sure.
All of that. This is the course that moved me from that, kind of complaining and frightened space of my life of feeling a calling, but not being able to pursue it, to actually living this calling and living my truth. And it's called the Life Design Course. So I'm launching that next Thursday. It'll be an online course, and people can get information on my website, jackiewoodside.com/life-design-course, or, you'll find it on my website. So the Life Design Course next week, I have a podcast called the Conscious Living Podcast. And so people can find that in the next month or so on my website. I'll be launching that. I have several recorded, but I'm getting ready to launch that. I have the Conscious Living Summit and the Money Vibe Summit that I will be doing again in the Conscious Living Summit will be September 2022.
Good.
And the Money Vibe Summit is in May of 2022. And the books that I'm working on right now, it's fascinating. So I'm having so much fun. I'm actually working on two different ones. One of them that's about halfway done is called 101 Ways to Raise Your Vibe.
Oh, wow. That'll do very well already. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's a fun book. It'll
immediately.
be easy to read. It's not, stories and stories and text and research. It's just a simple, easy book. 101 Ways to Raise Your Vibe. It is exactly that. Ways to raise consciousness on this planet. So that one will come out in 2022. And then one of the gentlemen that I met in Iran, he wants to take my consciousness and metaphysical teachings and do a book that uses the Quran, that blends the metaphysical teachings with teachings from the Quran.
Oh,
So,
how
and
powerful.
it'll be published in the Middle East in Farsi, in Farsi language. So I'm starting that project with him right now. He broke his leg, unfortunately. So we were supposed to start this month, but we're going to start next month as he's recovering from pretty severe sports injury. So yeah, so those, let me see, the podcast. Oh, and then once a month, oh gosh, who matters who's listening or when, go to my website. Once a month, I do a free masterclass on topics like use your mind to train your brain, overcoming fear, how to create long-lasting change, living in quantum consciousness. Those are some of the ones that I've done recently. I'm doing one tonight, actually, called Resolutions to Reality. So I've got a lot going on. I love to teach. I love to speak. And I will say I've been coaching for 30 years.
Yeah.
I'm really good at what I do. So
Mhm.
when I work really well with people who have been trying to create change for a long time, and they're frustrated and they're really ready to dive in and do the work.
Mhm.
I say I'm an activator. And
Right.
people who come to me that are really ready to be activated, I say I'm a little bit more of a butt kicker than a hand holder,
Mhm.
but I do know how to hold hands when people get stuck as well.
Yeah, but that's so necessary.
Yeah.
And then the person responds accordingly. I remember many years ago, we had a learned shaman here, Deborah King, and she had been here a time or two, because we used to be, especially, before COVID, we were a hot spot. We were a launching pad. Suzanne
Yeah.
Giesman was here, Deborah King, and some others. But anyway, so Deborah came back a second time, and she said, I'm so excited to be here because I've been going through a lot of changes and a lot of healing. So get ready, because I'm going to be able to support you and going that new level
Yeah,
yourself.
exactly
And
right.
it reminds me in a more simplistic way of how uncomfortable I am when I am referred to a hairdresser and I sit down and they say, tell me what to do. And I go, oh no. But when
Right.
I go to a hairdresser that says, I couldn't wait for you to come in because you have like the thickest head of hair I think I've ever seen in my life. And I can't wait because, oh my gosh, I'm going to have one of the best times I've ever had. And then I become that. And that is the vibe when you talk about, the 101 ways to change your vibe. That's the vibe that you hold for others, because that is what's necessary. That's like I was telling you that when I relocate to Santa Barbara, I'm looking forward to going the other direction, having a private practice for a while, because I want to work with people that really want to do the work. The real work, and like you, it's like, let's bring it on. How big of a mountain do you feel you have? Let's saw that baby down, that
How
kind of
good
thing.
can it be? How
Yeah.
good are you? How good are you willing to have your life be?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
it's one of the things that I'm ready. If you're ready, like, let's go. I
Yeah.
promise you, I can show you how to get there. Like, there's just
Absolutely.
no question, because spiritual law consistently applied creates results.
Yes.
There's just no two ways around it. That's why I am, not batshit crazy any longer, because it was spiritual law consistently applied that, if you stay with it over time, it
Mhm.
will absolutely create outcomes and create the results that you desire.
No doubt, no doubt. Do you have a story that comes to mind, without giving names, of course, or a situation or a circumstance that you go, yeah, that's one of those great stories that happened in my life, that I saw someone transcend to a whole new place, or just something you feel in your heart that you want to tell about, an example or something for our listeners.
Yeah, sure. There's so many, gosh. Well, let's do love, right? So in my life design course, I had a young man, youngish man. He had been divorced before, so I don't know, late 30s, 40s, who took my life design course because he really wanted to have love in his life again, and he was working lots of hours, and hadn't had good luck with dating, and was just not feeling it. And I was just like, just do the work. Do the work, stay in the course, look at the consciousness that you're in, look at your beliefs. A lot of what we do in life design is look at who you are and then what you believe that limits the truth of who you are. Anyway, so we were doing the course, and during the course, a friend of his gave him an offer to do this exotic vacation with him off to Turkey. And my student was so worried because he knows I'm really, I'm kind of a stickler. Like, if you sign up for the course, you can't miss any sessions. And if you miss a session, you have to get authorization from me, and, or you can get kicked out of the class. And I'm all about integrity and be your word and show up for the sessions. So he calls me up and he tells me, I've got this chant. And I was like, Turkey, wow, really? That's like, and I'm going to miss a Saturday session, and I'm so sorry. And I was like, yeah, no, totally. Like, that was amazing. Like, totally do this. Well, this is the dude who was signed up because he wanted love in his life. And while he was in Turkey, walking down a street, just kind of random, by himself, doesn't speak the language, he saw a pottery shop. And so he walked into that pottery shop, and through, broken English or whatever he knew of Turkish language, took up a conversation with that woman who was the owner of the pottery shop, who is now 10 years later, still his wife. They are living here in the United States. They were so taken with each other that he immediately started learning some Turkish, and she spoke pretty good English, but she started taking English language classes. They were back and forth on Skype with one another for a year or two. He would go there and she would come here. Anyway, long story short, she eventually came here. They got married, and they are still 10 years later, a happily married couple. So
Wow.
that's one of them. I had another one who had given up on her career. She was a singer and did life design because she didn't know what to do next. And I knew her singing was really extraordinary, and I couldn't quite get it and why she had given up. But so what I found in through the course of life design is she had to take a few years off to care for her ill mother who had passed away, and right before she did life design. And she just felt she was too old to start over. And through our coaching work together in life design, she saw that singing wasn't what she does, it's who she is. So she recommitted to her career and ended up that year both going to Carnegie Hall and being hired to do a national tour with a choral group where her name and picture were literally on the side of the bus as they drove across country. Oh, you're muted. Yeah.
Wow, I'm not muted. My dog is.
Your dog is muted. Yes.
He's saying,
can
"Oh yeah, I
appreciate
remember her. We've talked to Jackie a few times." See,
I know, right? Yeah, it's
right?
just Jackie.
That's the whole thing with video. Yeah. So anyway, that is so rich. Yeah, so rich.
Yeah, I love seeing, and I mean, really, Temple, I could tell you 20, 30 other ones that are just like that. Extraordinary stories of people reconnecting. Another one, a woman who had been estranged from her brother for many, many years, and through the principles of life design, recognizing that, she really is about love and family and connection, and that she wasn't living true to her values and her principles. And so reached out and not only reconnected with her brother, but then ended up having a relationship with 3 or 4 of her nieces and nephews and became an integral part in their lives. And just a beautiful love story over and over and over again. And, that's what happens, my own life of going from this desire to be an author and speaker and international, voice for good in the world. And now I'm actually living that truth.
Yeah. And how apropos, how non-surprising that the people that you encounter would wind up with healthy, loving relationships. And, I always say to people that if you are wanting something in your life and you are choosing a coach, a teacher, an author, or whatever it is that you want to be one of your key focal points, make sure they're doing that, because they are going to be the support that can hold the space that it can happen to you. And that always fascinates me, just as a, I understand we can always be objective. We can teach the 5 things, but when somebody's getting coached from someone that's not been in a relationship for years about how to be in a relationship, I don't really understand that. And I'm not saying I'm arrogant about it or self-righteous, but in discerning, I go, wonder how that works, So anyway, it's not a surprise that you have a number of your clients that wind up having the love of their life because that's what you do. That's how you live. So
very,
good for
very
you.
blessed.
Spreading the good all the way around.
Yeah, I'm very,
Absolutely.
very blessed to be the happiest married person that I know. We've been together for 21 years, 22 years now. And and really to look at where I came from with incredibly chaotic, abusive, addicted, codependent relationships, just, total drama scene to, I mean, we never fight. I mean, we just don't. It's just, we don't have to. One of our rules in our marriage is whoever feels the strongest about something wins. Whoever feels the strongest about something wins. And people always say, well, how do you know who feels the strongest? And I say, well, you just know.
No, you just know. Well, you've met my wife and she's a fireball. So
Indeed.
woo, that's a blessing, isn't it? It's a blessing. I kind of gave up the consciousness of buying into this idea of opposites attract and just expect it and it's going to be hard and all that to a place
Like
saying,
who said that? Who said it
right.
has to
But
be
I mean,
hard?
that's the kind of stuff that, sells magazines and drugs probably.
I will say it requires a certain degree of emotional maturity and psychological maturity. One of our other kind of truisms or rules in our marriage is we are both more committed to each other's happiness than to getting our way, being right or getting our own way. So, oh gosh, I have story after story about how this has played out in our lives. But, one of them was Heather got invited to a wedding on Memorial Day weekend once. And Memorial Day weekend is our time that we open our summer home. It's big, it's part of my life, my entire life, that we go up to our cottage and we open up our summer home. And it was, we get this beautiful wedding invitation on Memorial Day weekend. And I just looked at it and said, oh, gee, too bad we can't make it. To which Heather looked at it and said, oh, too bad we're going to miss Memorial Day up at the cottage. And I was like, you're kidding me. No, we are not going to miss the Memorial Day weekend. Like it's my family, my thing. She's like, sure. No, like we can't miss this wedding. And so we were really like at odds with each other. And we had just kind of settled that like, I would go to the cottage and she would go to the wedding. And then it came down to my son. Where's my son going to go? I was like, no, he's going to, our son, where's our son going to go? No, he's going with me. No, he's going to go with me. So I was telling some of my friends about it and they just had that look. They just had that look on their face. And I was being all like right about it. And I looked at their faces and I said, I'm wrong, aren't I? And they're like, mm-hmm. You're wrong. I was like, I've got to go to the wedding, don't I? And they're like, yep. Like the wedding is and in fact, I love this. It was an Indian wedding with gay men. It was a gay male Indian wedding. One of the men was deaf and the other was hearing. And it was an extraordinary experience that we would have missed, like a once in a lifetime. My son still remembers it. So I'm so glad that I was wrong. And I came home that night and I said to my spouse, I said, honey, I was wrong. I want to just own that I was wrong, to like hold my ground and think that I was right about this. I was wrong. I'm more committed to your happiness and you'll be happier if we go together. And it was a wonderful weekend.
Oh, how beautiful. That's right. We can declare Memorial Day anytime, can't we?
Right. Every year for the rest of our lives, we can do Memorial Day at camp at our cottage.
That's for sure. Well, good for you. I get caught into that too. And I love that statement. Actually, I learned it at a Unity. It's Stratton Smith from 4T.
Yeah, 4T.
I stopped, and rather than setting it right, I learned to see it right.
Yeah.
And that's a big one. That's been a big tool for me to have in my spiritual
But you can get
toolbox.
that it takes psychological maturity to do that. But the
Mhm.
maturity to be able to say, I was wrong. I need to see this differently, I need to make it different.
Right.
I need to
Right.
be different. And in order to be different, you have to be able to see things differently, because
Mhm.
perception is the root of all behavior.
Yeah, and it goes back to, what you said earlier, within your own integrity, and being and standing in integrity, and to create those future visions, so you can. Um, I was talking to a guy that he's the landlord for my mom, and I was saying something about this woman I was suggesting that he rent to. I said, I don't know her age. I really don't, but I think she's, I think she's pretty young, but these days, I think pretty much everybody's younger than me.
Right.
And so he said, because you were kind of doing that earlier. And so, he said, well, I don't know what you're doing. He said, but I'm going to tell you. He said, you're really vibrant and you are really young. I said, well, here's the thing. I said many years ago, I would anticipate that I would be famous. Well, up till now, that hasn't happened. And I thought about that I would actually have a husband and children. Well, we know where that went.
That didn't happen either.
And I said, but one thing that I really put out there very strongly is I put a future me out there, that I would be interviewed on shows, and that I would be on Oprah, and I'd be on Ellen, or I would be on just, summits or whatever. And somebody would say to me, how do you do it? What is the secret? Because you're so young, you don't age. And so it's very interesting, because that's actually happened to me a few times, because that is the work that you encourage us to have, that you encourage people to have, is to do this future you, of the template of who you are becoming. And I think that's a clear distinction, because so many people continue to put on the dry erase board the same day as yesterday, and the day before, and the day before. And well, I would like that, but I get into the how it's going to happen, and so I'm in the way of it. But the future bigger person, energetically or spiritually, or
Yeah, we think
whatever.
that our psychological problems are because of the past.
Yeah.
And after 30 years of being a psychotherapist, I really believe that our psychological problems are because we cannot connect with God and envision a big enough future.
Wow. I
Yeah.
think you need to say that again.
Okay, so a lot of people think and teach that
Mhm.
our psychological problems are because of the past. The parents did this, society did that. You were told this as a child. That's where, why you don't have confidence, you don't have self-esteem, you don't have, you're anxious or depressed. I say that the root of our psychological problems is because we don't know who we are, who we've come here to
Mhm.
be, and we don't have a big enough or a clear enough vision for how God wants to express through and as us in the future, in the present and in the future. So if people want to heal their anxiety or overcome their depression, in some ways they need to create bigger problems for themselves by knowing the truth of who they are as their God self on earth, and
Mhm.
then designing and creating their lives to go out and fulfill that highest vision for who they came here to be.
Yes.
When you do that, that's certainly how I overcame my chronic depression and being on antidepressant medication. Was I just changed my identity from being about my past to being about the future that I'm here to create and invent. And I'll be doing that the rest of my life. When I teach the life design course, I always tell my students, I'll be teaching this in the day hall of the nursing home someday, because this is what I do. It's who I am. I don't care. I'll be like 99 and a half and I'll be out there teaching life design, because I'll still, if I'm 99 and a half and I've still got blood running through my veins, then I have a life to design. And when you stop designing your life based on your highest expression, you're going to get busy living, or you're going to get busy dying. And when you stop designing your life ontologically, your inner self begins to die.
Yeah.
And too many people out there are the walking dead.
Yeah.
Suicide and addiction rates are higher now than they've ever been, not because necessarily of all the problems within people, but that they've disconnected from the truth of who they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Big time. Yeah, absolutely.
And
That's what my
that's what
book
my
is
work is
about.
all about. Yeah, that's what I got your new book, by the way. I read that already. It was beautiful. I think I got it on one of the days we had a coffee date with each other. It was in the
Yeah,
mail
thank
on the
you. I
same
got
day.
your book too. So absolutely, what a blessing. But that was the title of the book, even though the publishing house said your book's going to die. I mean, they said your book's going to die because it has a horrible title. And I went, but I have to do it, called When Did You Die? Because that's so true. I mean, let's call it what it is, let's call it the space that it is. See, that was a universal aha, was the bell started ringing. But yeah, that's what you're talking about. I mean, that there's when we aren't moving forward, when we have this future us that's calling, that has our name, that has the wind blowing, and we refuse it, or we're afraid of it, or we deny it, or we make it because of reasons and seasons, we do die energetically.
Yeah, there's a vibration that we came here to bring into the planet at this time.
Yes.
And when we're not living in alignment with that vibration, then your vibe shrinks. It gets heavy and dense, and your emotions follow suit. How you will come to know yourself more fully, more powerfully, is to align with the vibration of who you came here to be, which is always about being more wise, more loving, more patient, more connected, more engaged, expanded in who you are. And when people align with that, anxiety and depression, they're I want to say they disappear. I probably shouldn't say that. If you're on medications, keep them. But just know there's a spiritual solution to every problem. It's a book title by Wayne Dyer, but I will borrow it for this concept. There's a spiritual solution to every problem. And when people start looking within rather than outside themselves, they will find that.
And that's why, both of us are so grateful to the teachings of unity and science of mind and new thought, because it's encouraging, constantly encouraging one to evolve, one to not be the norm or the ordinary or the status quo, but to, as my teacher used to say, who cares about being average? Average is the best of the worst and the worst of the best. And that's just, we're called to do so much more. But everybody, I want to thank you again for tuning in. Like Jackie, I'm shocked that our time is coming to a close, but you can go on JackieWoodside.com, find out all about her, get to know her, get involved in her summits and her programs. I've had the good pleasure of being a guest on some of those. They're great teachable moments and experiences. And also join me at templehays.com and stay in touch. Let me know the kind of shows that you would like to have. Jackie, it's been a pleasure to be with you always. And it's so funny, you and me and our dogs, they can be as quiet as they can be, but when we get together, they start barking and saying hello. So what a pleasure to see you, my friend. And until next time, all of you, thank you for tuning in. God bless you on this amazing journey that we call life.